Hello everyone and welcome to game 1 in a series between MTW's Dimaga versus Slayer's MMA here on Tall Dream Altar. This is game 1 in a series, and I will say this off the bat, the series looks kind of strange in terms of my replays. I'll talk about it as it comes up, but we see Dimaga spawning here as the blue Zerg at the 4 o'clock position. Meanwhile, MMA spawning as the red Terran player here on the top right hand side of the map as the red Terran. Now, MMA is going to benefit from the fact that the third base of Dimaga is actually closer into his opponent, but we've seen MMA play and we've seen a couple of his games already, and MMA really likes to go for what I call ninja expansions or hidden expansions during the early portion of the game, making a Zerg player feel as as though he has the economic advantage, but he really doesn't. Now, MMA is building up the supply depot over here on the front door. He should build up a barracks next. We'll see whether or not he goes for the early refinery as this game is now underway. Now, taking a look back at Dimaga's strategy, Dimaga is scouting out with a drone. He should be setting up a hatchery sometime soon. A 15 hatchery is pretty standard, unless he's going for a spawning pool. Tall Dream Altar is a rather large map, so it does generally work out well. And no, Dimaga going for a 16 hatchery instead of a 15. Going for the fastest economic build that he can possibly go, and he can really afford to do this just because of the map here. These players, I'm sure, have very specific build orders for every map that they play on, especially against every race that they play on, and maybe even getting down to the style as well. Now, we are going to see MMA sitting at 16 over 19 food now, training up a Marine, already upgrading to an orbital command, as he may be trying to set up a command center here. Command center and a gaseous expansion coming in for Terran. We'll see how successful he is. MMA should come back with that SCV, place down a command center, and now both players will be running off of 2 bases for a little while. Now, we see that Dimaga has scouted this out, and I'm curious as to what his strategy will be. Fast expanding Zergs benefit as they're able to produce units and other army units at their hatcheries. So even though there is a hatchery here, it could be used as a macro hatch and try to punish this early expansion. It will be up to MMA to figure out what he's going to do. We can see that he is now going into double refineries, a strategy that I actually did not expect him to go, as he is now, or he was, supply blocked for a little bit of time. Now MMA going for this double gas as opposed to getting more barracks and trying to set up a front door of bunkers, and we'll see what exactly Dimaga does in response. Dimaga, if he goes into a Roach Warren off of 2 queens, off of 2 bases, should be able to lay down a lot of pressure. Or Dimaga could decide to just try to take up a 3rd base. I think those are the 2 options at this stage, as a bunker is finally being established. You can still see that a gas is still being collected pretty regularly now. 3 harvesters on each, harvesting about 240 gas a minute. As we now see an SCV sneak around on the inside of the base, it will see the metabolic boost being researched. A little bit of shimmer in that pool. Down goes the SCV, and nothing on the extractor. So now MMA knows that he is pretty much free to expand here, and that he's not going to get challenged anytime soon. Without any more gas, that means that there's not going to be any roaches. Reactor Hellion strategy now in transition. We'll see whether or not this works out well for Dimaga, as Dimaga getting that factory and that reactor. Also taking a look at Dimaga, he is going for that all-important 3rd queen, but he doesn't have a spine crawler on a front door. This spine crawler on a front door is very customary whenever you play against a Terran player, especially on a map like Tall Dream Altar, where Hellions with their fast movement speed could come into play. We are now transitioning into a triple racks build with 1 factory. Hellions will be placed down, and we'll see how much pressure these Hellions are able to do. Dimaga currently sitting on 36 harvesters compared to 27. Dimaga taking a very, very early economic lead. But unless he gets a spine crawler out, he's not going to really be able to handle those Hellions. The Queens can do something. The Zerglings do have metabolic boost, and as long as they fight on creep, that will be beneficial. But Dimaga with only one Queen may not have enough creep to really fend off this attack. Hellions now making their way in. Zerglings still pecking away at the rocks. 8 more drones now being added as Dimaga very, very heavy going into 8 drones and is also setting up a macro hatch in the inside of his own base. Hellions now about to make their way up. The Queen able to get off a couple easy slashes there. Now deciding to back off here as we will see what exactly this Queen does, deciding to lay down even more creep tumors. Hellions coming around the far side now should be able to clear out some of these Zerglings. The Zerglings do have metabolic boost, and the Hellions are in trouble. They're going to perhaps try to trap those Zerglings. Zerglings are getting toasted here, and the Hellions will get taken out. Not quite sure who came out ahead. It looks like Dimaga came out ahead there, as we are now going into mass Marines. So it wasn't a very heavy push into these Hellions. Only a total of 4 were trained, as we now see MMA going very heavy into standard bioplay. Stim pack being added, double reactors, meaning a very, very heavy investment on Marines, as we will now see one Zergling run straight into a group of Hellions there. No blue flame tech. We are going into a Baneling's nest though, and Banelings are very effective against these Marines, especially without combat shield. Without combat shield, a Marine who has used their stim pack will die to one Baneling. He has to be very careful about that, as Dimaga now starting to expand and take his third base. 4 hatch play coming in from Dimaga. Drones now being transferred back over as well. We'll see what's going to be happening here. Level 1 weapons upgrade, level 1 weapons and armor upgrades for Zerg, as the tech to tier 2 has nearly completed. Now, we could see a Spire out now, and with the Spire, a Mutalisk would enter into the equation, but no, MMA looking to do his classic ninja expansion, taking the 12 o'clock expansion here, as a Marine apparently tries to chase down one Zergling. Marines are making their way out, finishing off that Zergling there. We should see a heavy round of units now being morphed. You can see another Queen being added. Banelings are being added as well. No siege tanks just quite yet, and no siege tech. Marines and Medivacs and Hellions are about to make their way into this position here, perhaps doing a cliff here, and being able to cliff and perhaps get some damage would be very, very problematic, as the Zerglings are now trying to engage on creep. No movement speed on those Banelings just quite yet. The Banelings are trying to push their way in. Will they be able to find it? I do not believe so. The Zerglings are continuing to surround here. Banelings are now continuing to make their way in, and Dimaga very nicely picks up forces MMA to pick up all of his units, but the Medivacs are now going to come back over here instead, and with so many Zerglings swarming around, those Medivacs will not be able to land any of their units. Spire now about to be completed as well. Command center upgrading to a planetary fortress in order to fend off any more units, as we now see Zerglings simply on patrol here, looking to destroy and take down any units. Zerglings are also patrolling off over here as well. You're going to see MMA not going to be able to do very much. Going to try to land. You can see the Zerglings going after those Hellions. Marines now trying to fight back as well. More Zerglings coming in. 2 Medivacs. More units picking up in, as well as nicely done cleaning up a lot of Marines, or a lot of Zerglings, without losing all too many units here. There is one Zergling hiding off over here. It still doesn't know about this expansion, and that is going to be very, very sorry for Dimaga, as Dimaga is now even on bases as MMA starts to strip mine this expansion here. MMA does have 114 food compared to 131. We'll see what comes of this, as MMA is going to be placing down missile turrets as well. It should stop any of that Mutalisk harassment. The Spire was scouted out, but I don't see one Mutalisk in the air as of yet. No, 7 Mutalisks are in the air. Where are they? They are hidden somewhere as well. Where are they currently? No. Okay, over here. So we finally see some 1 or 2 Mutalisks now moving out, but a lone Mutalisk is not going to be very effective at all, as we now see 1 Mutalisk with 120 hit points would most likely get shot down by those Marines very, very quickly. Level 1 weapons upgrade has been completed. Those Marines with stim will be able to eat through many of those units, but Dimaga with 162 food advantage over 129 may engage with just Zerglings and Banelings. Zerglings now trying to surround over here. Banelings now trying to come in. The siege tanks are not going to be able to splash in against any of those units. Banelings are going to find their target, take down multiple Marines, and MMA is in trouble. A swarm of Zerglings still ready to engage in the field. There are a lot of Banelings, and I believe the Zerglings are just going to swarm in here. Banelings may take down the supply depots. There they go. Bunker is going to just get completely rolled over here. Banelings rolling straight through. How much damage is going to be done? And multiple SCVs get destroyed right as MMA says GG. So Dimaga beating MMA here on Tal'Darim Altar. Stay tuned for Game 2.